Food insecurity has been an increasing problem during the pandemic. We've all seen long lines at various food banks across the country. We are examining this issue as part of our Food Insecurity in America segment. It's sponsored by CIT. And to talk more about this, we're joined today by Lee Perry. He is Fleet Farming Program Director. This is a farming company. This is a farming nonprofit that's based in the greater Orlando area. Lee, so basically what you all do is help people do sort of micro farming with the land that they have. And I think this is intimidating for people, right? But it's obviously then empowering once they do it to be able to grow their own food. So how do you get over that hurdle with people, that sort of psychological hurdle?
Well, thank you so much for having me. And, I think a lot of people don't really understand how much opportunity there is in growing your own food and how much abundance nature has for us right outside of our doors. I think the hurdle is really a shift in mentality because we've been so prone to going to the grocery store and filling a basket of food and taking it home, where if you just shift a couple little behavioral things in your day-to-day life, you could grow an abundance of food on your balcony or in your windowsill or even in your backyard in order to supplement what you would otherwise buy in the grocery store and feed your family hyper local, fresh, and way more nutritious produce.
Curious on what you have seen in the business over the past 6 months of the or so of the pandemic. Really, so many people are really just staying at home and reinvesting in their homes. How has that impacted your business?
I see a lot of people wanting to get connected to nature and wanting to have that relationship with their yard. They just don't really know how. So the interest has skyrocketed beyond anything I've ever seen. I think that's a silver lining in this crisis is that people want to learn the steps to becoming more food sovereign and more independent, especially since early on, especially in the shutdown or quarantine, we saw shelves clear, we saw a lot of panic, and we saw especially people who were already financially struggling, struggle even more to put fresh produce that gives you the health and immune system buildup that you need to combat something like a virus. And so I think a lot of people started to really look at how they could save money and how they could do something to invest in their homes. And growing food is a really great way to do that, especially when you have little ones to attend to. Putting them outside and giving them that fresh air and that sunlight, it's a really great way to, keep them entertained.
Lee, I'm curious about some of the particulars of having a farm installed and actually operating it. I think there's an intimidation barrier, even just if you're growing like basil in the backyard, between not killing off the basil and sort of how that process has been for you guys as you grow and expand. And presumably, and I would assume the goal is to have less experienced farmers over time join the program and get on board with you guys. How is that education side of it, I guess, factor in?
Well, it's just like anything in life. You have to accept the fact that when you are defeated at something, if something that you're trying to grow dies, it's a learning process, right? So just feeling that excitement to want to learn what plants grow in the right place and based on wherever you are on this planet, there are some things that will do better in your climate conditions than somewhere else. So instead of, being stubborn and demanding that you grow Brussels sprouts or demanding that you try that big ripe tomato in your windowsill or wherever, try to learn instead of what actually grows based on your, geographic location and rely on nature to teach you because we have everything that we need outside and our own fingertips. We just need to learn how to curb our behavior. And I think that people just need to learn, how can I compost in order to make that really rich, beautiful soil that I need in order to make sure these plants can thrive.
Do you have any key partnerships in the works that you can talk to? Because I would have loved to stumbled upon what you're doing walking down the aisles of a Home Depot or Lowe's when I picked up my tomato plants or my topsoil. How are you thinking about that?
Well, first and foremost, if you monetize a living thing, right? If we're monetizing food, food is alive. Food is a plant, which is a living organism on this planet, right? You start to find that people are trying to turn a product at the cheapest rate possible. So when you go to Home Depot, Lowe's, or a lot of hardware stores, they're trying to sell you items that they can profit off of at the lowest possible cost to them. And that's not necessarily the best thing for us to be putting into our body. A lot of the plants that you see in the greenhouse area, they usually don't do well when you put them in the ground or if you try to grow them at home, which makes people feel really burnt out and jaded when they spend $1,000 at Home Depot or wherever, and then everything kind of falls by the wayside because they're trying to force nature to be a commodity. So some key partnerships that we have in order to really succeed would be our local growers. We've leaned a lot on other farmers in our area or other people with growing experience, other people from different cultural backgrounds that ancestrally have passed down different techniques that we want to keep alive in our culture today in order to learn how to grow food effectively in our area. But then also, community centers or churches, places that have a lot of land, that want to bring those educational resources on site. They've been the ones that have really helped us get started and give us a place to rent, to operate and to also grow our food and keep our costs relatively low for people.
And Lee, right now, you all are based in the Orlando area, and obviously you have all of these local partnerships. But how scalable is something like this? I mean, when we talk about the problem of food insecurity in America, I know this is sort of idealistic, but how do you envision this? How far do you envision this going towards solving that problem or helping solve that problem?
It's actually so funny because I see what we're currently doing as idealistic. I see ourselves like becoming codependent on grocery stores and on large scale monoculture farms, like really abstract and absurd when years ago everybody had a small pocket garden and shared their produce with their neighbors and were able to share these skills, and it was like a part of life. How scalable it is? Well, everywhere you see grass is a missed opportunity to be growing food. It boggles my mind that we actually spend so much money and time and resources on manicured lawns when we could otherwise be investing in our soil and investing in our communities by stimulating the economy and creating jobs and growing food wherever you see an empty lot of just grass. So, to answer your
Idealistic. I like
question, it's very
it.
scalable.
Lee, thank you so much. Lee Perry, Fleet Farming Program Director. Really appreciate it. And again, she joined us as part of our Food Insecurity in America segment, sponsored by CIT. Appreciate it.